Hello friends, today I'm going to show you how you can deploy self-hosted GitHub Actions runners on Kubernetes using the Actions Runner controller project. Now, this project is an open source project maintained by GitHub and allows you to deploy self-hosted GitHub Actions runners on your Kubernetes clusters. For this video, I'm going to deploy it on my local Kubernetes cluster running on Kind, but in your case, this might be different. You can deploy it either on Minikube or any other Kubernetes cluster that you have. So we're going to follow these instructions from the Actions Runner controller GitHub page. So let's get started. So I'm going to start by launching a new Kubernetes cluster on Kind. So let me go to my terminal on my Mac OS Mini, and I'm going to create a new cluster, Kind create cluster. Sorry about that. So this is going to create a local cluster on my Mac Mini. So let's give it a few seconds until it gets, that was fast. So now let's check if this cluster is created. So let's run kubectl git nodes. Great, but it's still not ready. So let's give it a few seconds until everything's ready. Let's check if the pods are ready. Okay, all the pods are running fine. So let's check the nodes again. All right, so now we can see that the cluster is in the ready state. Now let's go back to the GitHub Actions Runner GitHub page. So the first, one thing to explain here is this controller has two parts. So the first part is the Actions Runner controller operator. So that's the one that we are going to install first in the Arc Systems namespace. After that, we're going to deploy the Actions Runner controller, the GHA Runner scale set operator in another namespace, Arc Runner set. So first, let's copy the commands from here, and let's go back here. Let me clear my terminal and paste this command. Voila. So let's check in the Arc Systems namespace if the pod is created. So it's created and running fine. So now let's go back to the documentation to see how we can deploy the GHA Runner scale set. So for this, you are going to need a few things. One is you need a GitHub repository where you will deploy these runners, and you would also need a personal access token that the runner will use to authenticate against your GitHub repository. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to go to one of my repositories in GitHub. So I'll go to GitHub. I have this repository called Alefat operator, and I'm going to actually go to settings and developer settings, and then personal access token. We're going to choose the classic tokens, and we're going to generate a new token, a classic one. Let's give it a name. Let's give it GitHub Actions Demo. It will expire after 30 days, and I'm going to give it the permission to read and access the repository. So that is fine. Then I'm going to generate a token. So I'm going to need this. So let me go back to the documentation. So let's copy these two first parts, copy these environment variables. Next, we need to enter the name of our GitHub repository. So it's going to be github.com/my username, and then the name of my repository. So you need to replace this with your own username and repository name. And then the last environment variable that we need is the GitHub personal access token. So we're going to go here and go back to here to copy the personal access token, copy it. Great. Now we have all the environment variables that we need. So we are going to copy this helm command to install the GHA Runner scale set. So we're going to paste this and hit enter. So that went fine. Now let's go to the Arc Runners namespace and check the auto-scaling runner set resource. So that's the custom resource that manages the runners. At this point, we are not going to see any pods because the number of pods is set to 0, and the pods are going to spin up only when a workflow is assigned to them. So now let's just watch the pods and go back to, now we can go back to our GitHub repository and adjust our workflow to run on these runners. But first let's go to the settings of our GitHub repository and go to actions and then runners, and we can see that we have a runner online. So that's great. Now let's go back to the GitHub workflow. So your GitHub workflows, you can find them in your repository under the .github repository and then workflows and then the name of your workflow. So to trigger a workflow to run on your runners, you need to do two things. First, you need to push something to the main branch, or you need to create a pull request. So these are called the triggers. So I'm not going to go much into the details of how you can write a GitHub Actions workflow. If you are interested, please comment on the comments, leave a comment in the comment section so that I can do a deep dive into how you can create GitHub Actions workflows and pipelines. But now, for the purpose of this video, I'm going just to now this seems fine actually. So this is the name of my runner. So I'm just going to add some comment just to trigger a run. And then I'm going to commit this. And then I'll go to the Actions tab of the repository to see this one is going to run. And the way we check is go to the setup job, and we can see that the runner name is arc runner set. And if we go back to our terminal, we can see that this pod is created and it's running a job. You can also check the logs of this pod if you like. So I can do arc runner logs and the name of the pod. Okay, this job has already completed, so I couldn't get the logs, but you get the gist. So if you look closer, you see that the build has failed. And the reason is because the workflow could not build a Docker image. Now, this is because the Actions Runner image that is provided by the Actions Runner controller project does not have a Docker daemon in it. So if you want to, if you in your workflow like mine, you have Docker build commands, you need to provide the runner with a Docker daemon. So one of the ways to do that is by using something called Docker in Docker, or DIND for short, and that is provided as a sidecar to your runner. So the GitHub Actions scale set actually support that. So if you go to the Actions Runner controller page in GitHub and check the scale sets Helm chart. So let's go to the charts and then GitHub Actions scale set. And if you check the values file and search for container mode, you can see that this controller supports two types of container mode. One is DIND and the other one is Kubernetes. So if you want to build Docker images, you need to run the scale set controller using container mode type DIND, so that it would come with a DIND sidecar that would provide a Docker daemon to the runner, and that would in turn allow it to run Docker commands. So now let's go back to our project and let's reinstall our scale set to run it with the container mode DIND. So I'm going to go back to here and I'm going to again copy this and I'm going to paste it, but this time I'm going to upgrade this deployment in state. So I'm going to use the Helm upgrade command with the option of container mode type set to dind, and I'm going to run this. Great. So now if we go to the arc runner and describe the autoscaling runner set running there, so we should see two containers in this runner, in the runner pod. So the first one is the actions runner. While this is a runner, the image used by the runner. The other one is, we should see a dind image. Yeah, so this is the second one, as you can see. So when you run describe, you should see two images. So this is a image used by the runner, and then you have the dind image that is used by the Docker sidecar. So now let's again watch our pods in this namespace, and let's go back to the workflow in our repository and run it again. So we run this. So we run all jobs, and let's wait for it. So if we go back to our terminal, we should see now there is a runner pod with two containers in it, as you can see. So 2 out of 2 containers are ready, and now it's running. So you can also check the logs in this pod. Let's copy the name of the pod. Let's go to the namespace, arc logs, the name of the pod, and as you can see, the runner is active and is communicating with GitHub to get webhook events, and now it's running the job. And if we go back to our repository, go to the actions tab and check the job that is running in the repository, you can see now that Docker build command is running fine. It's building the image, and let's give it some moment until it finishes building and pushing the image to the Docker registry. It has finished building. Now it's pushing the image to the Docker registry. Now the job has completed successfully, and the pod has also completed, and it will be terminated. So folks, so that is how you can deploy self-hosted GitHub Actions Runner on your local Kubernetes cluster, and you can create as many runners as you need and as the resources of your machine allows. If you want me to go deep, do a deep dive into the Actions Runner controller projects and create a video to show you more details of how under the hood these controllers work and what kind of configuration possibilities are there, please drop your message under the comment section, and I will make a longer video with a deep dive. Thank you for watching this one, and I hope you find it useful, and this will save you time and money when you build your projects in GitHub. Thank you.